So in this example, we have a gun being fired, which means that before anything happens, your initial velocities for both the gun or the rifle and the bullet are both going to be zero. So this actually makes the math a little bit easier because we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff that just goes right to zero. So let's start off by listing what's given to us. So we know in this question that the mass of the rifle, which we'll just denote M1, is 5.0 kilograms. The mass of the bullet, 50 grams, but we should convert that to kilograms as well, so 0.050 kilograms. We know that the initial velocity of both the rifle and the bullet are going to be zero, and that the bullet exits with a speed of 300 meters per second. So that's v2 prime, 300 meters per second. So we're looking at the recoil velocity of the rifle. That means how much the rifle kicks back in terms of speed. So that's going to be our unknown. And we should also note the direction here, which is important. The bullet is traveling forward because that's going to come into play when we come up with our final answer for the velocity of the rifle. So making use of our conservation of momentum, we know that m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is equal to m1, the mass doesn't change, v1 prime plus m2 v2 prime. So everything on the right is actually going to go right to zero because there is no initial velocities. So this leaves us with 0 is equal to m1, which is 5 kilograms, v1, which is what we're ultimately solving for, plus m2, 0.050 kilograms, and v2, which we have 300 meters per second, or positive 300 meters per second to be a little bit more precise. So by doing a little bit of math here, we end up with 5 kilograms v1 primed plus 15 kilogram meters per second. We can bring the 15 over and divide by 5, and we're left with v1 prime is equal to negative 15 kilogram meters per second divided by 5.0 kilograms. So our units cancel out, and we're left with negative 3.0 meters per second. So what does this negative sign tell me? It tells me it means it's going the opposite direction of the bullet, which makes sense. So I would say that my recoil velocity in this case would be 1 prime is equal to 3.0 meters per second backwards, or whatever opposite direction you chose from the beginning.